Hi everyone, thanks so much for tuning in today. This is Kathy. I've got another card for my 2019 Valentine's Day series, and today I am using the Warm and Feathered Hugs stamp set by My Favorite Things. I stamped him out on a piece of 110-pound Nina Solar White cardstock, and I used My Favorite Things Extreme Black Hybrid ink. Both are Copic friendly. And then I just started coloring him with some warm grays. I started with W4, went to W3, and worked my way all the way down to, I believe, W0. As far as doing a whole lot of shading, I really did most of it on the sides of his face and on the top of his head. The rest of the image was pretty small, so I wasn't too concerned about getting perfect shading. I just knew that if I used different enough colors that there would be a little bit of dimension. With that, I'm going to leave you with some music while I finish up the coloring, and then I will be back when I create the background. For the Great Plaid background panel, I used the Diagonal Stripes stamp from Gina K Stamps. I inked it up with cement gray hybrid ink from My Favorite Things, and I placed a piece of cardstock on top of the stamp and then used a piece of scratch paper so that I could make sure that I got a really good impression. To make those diagonal lines into plaid, I just re-inked the stamp, and when I placed my cardstock down the second time, I placed it horizontally rather than vertically. That piece of cardstock is 4¼ by 5½, but I totally had plans to cut that down with a stitched rectangle die. Moving right along to the sentiment, in most cases I don't die cut the fishtail banner before I stamp the sentiment. I will almost always stamp and then die cut, but I already had that one cut out, so I figured I might as well use it. So I did use my stamp platform to make sure that I got it where I wanted it to be and that the fishtail banner would stay where it needed to stay. I inked up the sentiment with VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and the sentiment is from the Sweet Celebration stamp set, also by My Favorite Things. And then it was time to put the card together. I did die cut the plaid background with the stitched rectangle die, and then the red strip I also used the same size stitched rectangle die and then cut it down to about 1 inch wide. I just want to make sure that they lined up, and I also wanted to continue the stitching detail. For the sentiment, I wanted to have that popped up, and I wasn't quite sure where it was going to go, so I kind of played with the placement, used my fingernail to make a little notch so I would know where to cut it with my scissors. The scallop stitched rectangle is from the same Dynamics blueprint set as the fishtail banner, which is Blueprints 27. And I adhered the red strip and plaid paper to that, and then adhered that to the front of a top folding white note card that is an A2 size. Played with the placement for the heart, which was die cut from one of the Stacking Hearts dies from Honeybee Stamps, and then used an obscene amount of foam tape for the heart and the owl. Adhered that into place and followed up by sticking down the sentiment, and I finished up the card with a couple of red sequins and heart sequins from my stash. That finishes up the card for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, I'd love it if you would, and we'll see you next time.